these units have been reinforcing the army that is here. General Zuñiga continues inside in the tank. The Minister of Public Works continues in the Murillo Square. The tanks are still with the motored engines running. There are also military cars. This is a very tense situation that we're living here. The only minister that has come out from the meeting of the cabinet has been the Minister of Public Works, which is still here in the Plaza Murillo, who is also beside the journalist. He's also being a victim of the tear gas that has been thrown by the police, military police. We insist that in the words of Minister of Public Works, the Ministry of State are inside in the cabinet meeting. And in this meeting, the commander of police is also in attendance. Minister has said that inside the cabinet, everything is in order. Only he has come out. Well, first the Minister of Government that came out to argue the army chief, and he was not successful in order to talk, because the Minister of Government told the chief of the army to get out of the tank and to just give him the information about the situation that is happening here. Until now, the situation, the Minister of Public Works continue here outside. I'm going to get closer to try to get some information, to have additional information.
También de acercarnos a las autoridades para recabar mayores detalles. Hay que recapitular lo que está aconteciendo hasta este momento. Aproximadamente hace 2 horas atrás, un poco más, se denunciaban movilizaciones inusuales.
In this context, let's recall that General Zuñiga continues as a commander of the army, despite the allegations he did and threats against former President Evo Morales. He took place today in a political act for former members of the intelligence, a group created in 2023. Zuñiga prompted a situation in the country after critics to former President Evo Morales. At the moment, as we can see in the live images, dozens of citizens are gathering in La Paz in support of President Luis Arce and in defense of democracy. Also, we are receiving information that the Minister of Public Works is beside the people today at the moment, and he assured that he was in a meeting today with other members of the Ministry Council of the country, and members of the army were also present at the meeting. According to the Minister of Public Works, during the meeting everything was normal and as usual. Let's recall that we are seeing live images of the current situation in La Paz, Bolivia, where President Luis Arce has denounced irregular mobilizations in some units of the Bolivian army. A few moments ago, in his official X account, the President Luis Arce called for democracy to be respected. We are seeing a live report from the southeast following the news coming from La Paz, where dozens of citizens are on the streets in support of the government of Luis Arce. Let's also recall that the ongoing situation takes place after threats against former President Evo Morales by an official of the army. The Minister of Justice, Ivan Lima, announced that the Ministry of Defense, in accordance with the Constitution, will offer statements on the commander of the army, General Zuñiga, who gave heavy critics and warnings against former President Evo Morales. General Zuñiga continues as a commander of the army, since he, for example, took place today in a political act that was celebrated for members of the intelligence organization created in 2023. Zuñiga prompted the situation
tratando de dispersar esta situación y también la policía militar
At the
está
moment,
haciendo
dozens of
lo propio
citizens
para
are
evitar que la
gathering in La
gente se
Paz in
acerque.
support of
Estamos
President
hablando
Luis
de
Arce
movilizaciones sociales.
and in
Vamos a
defense
tener más
of
reacciones a
democracy.
esta hora de la tarde. Tenemos también la interacción con nuestro corresponsal Freddy Morales. Freddy, vemos que se siguen lanzando gases lacrimógenos. Mientras recuperamos la declaración de nuestro corresponsal, vamos a ir con reacciones, vamos a ver lo que
Dozens
postea
of
el expresidente de
citizens are
Bolivia,
gathering in La Paz
Evo
as we
Morales
see
Caima,
a
través de
heavy
un hilo de
deployment
tweets consecutivos que ha
of
lanzado
military
desde hace 2 horas
forces
atrás también, en el
in the
momento en que
center
se
of the
denunciaba
capital,
por
La
parte del
Paz.
presidente Luis Alberto Arce Catacora este tipo de movilizaciones inusuales de
Dozens of
tanquetas
citizens are
militares. Lo
gathering
vamos a
in
colocar en
support of
pantalla.
President Luis Arce and
Decía
in
Evo
defense
Morales,
of
convocamos a una
democracy,
movilización
as the
nacional
President Luis
para
Arce
defender la democracia
called
frente al golpe de
a
Estado que se
few
gesta en la
hours
cabeza del
ago.
General Zúñiga.
Amid the
Declaramos para juzgar
situation, the
los
political
delitos que
situation that is
cometimos.
taking
No
place in the
permitiremos que
country.
las Fuerzas Armadas violenten la democracia
In
y
the
amedrenten
sense,
al pueblo. Sentencia el expresidente de
the
Bolivia,
Minister of Justice,
Evo
Iván
Morales,
Lima,
también a través
announced
de su
that
red
the
social
Ministry
X,
of
donde
Defense,
ha lanzado
in
una
accordance
serie de
with the
posts,
Constitution,
manifestando
assured
que la orden
that
que daba
he will
Zúñiga
offer
por el
statements
encuartelamiento de los
on the
militares se
situation
está generando
that is
en
taking place
todo
in the
el
country,
territorio nacional y que esto genera suspicacia
following
dentro del movimiento inusual
heavy
que las
statements
Fuerzas
and
Armadas en el
critics
país, decía el
offered by a
expresidente.
high
El
official of the
comandante
army
general del ejército,
against
Juan
former
Zúñiga,
President
tras el
Evo
ingreso
Morales.
justamente de estos militares a Plaza Murillo, decía que acudían
Let's
al
recall
clamor
that
del
at
pueblo.
this
El
moment,
pueblo dice,
General
basta de
Zuñiga
saqueo,
continues as a
basta de
commander
ultraje
of the army.
país. Esas eran parte de las declaraciones solicitando además el cambio
From
de
the
todo el
south
gabinete
is
ministerial de
following the
Luis Alberto
news
Arce Catacora,
coming from La
y
Paz
donde incluso
in
el
live,
comandante en jefe de las Fuerzas
where
Armadas
dozens of citizens
está
are
atrincherado
supporting
dentro de esta tanqueta
the
militar
government of
en
Luis
kilómetro
Arce
cero. TeleSUR está
as
recogiendo
the
estas
officials of
imágenes
the
en
army
directo,
launched
mostrándole desde
tear
esta
gas at the people
perspectiva
that
cómo
gathered
se desarrolla
in the
este
capital,
intento de desestabilización. Así
trying
lo ha
to
calificado
support and
la
showing
propia
their
autoridad
support
de gobierno, el
to
ministro
the
de Obras
defense of
Públicas, Eduardo
democracy and
Montaño.
to the
Vemos cómo
defense of
intenta
the
la
government
tanqueta. Ahí vemos,
democratically
está
elected.
golpeando la puerta de
We are
ingreso de
seeing
Palacio
that one
Quemado.
of the
Está
vehicles of the
tratando de
army
ingresar por la
are
fuerza,
trying to
violentando la
get
seguridad, inclusive la
to
integridad
storm
de la Policía Nacional
of
y
the
de los
National
Colorados de
Police.
Bolivia, que se
This is
constituyen en la
live image
Guardia
at this
Oficial de
moment.
Palacio Quemado.
One of the
Así la
vehicles are
tanqueta
trying
ha
to get
golpeado.
inside the
Ustedes lo han
National
visto a través
Police
de las pantallas de
headquarters in the
TeleSUR,
capital,
la
La
puerta
Paz.
de ingreso de
The,
Palacio Quemado. Por
the
esa
main
puerta,
gate
señores
is trying
televidentes,
to
ingresa el presidente de Bolivia. Están
trying
ingresando,
to
ahí lo vemos, la
storm
Policía Nacional con el equipo antimotines,
the
garantizando el
National
resguardo
Police is
de esta puerta que
safeguarding
conecta al ingreso
the
de
gate
la Casa Grande del Pueblo,
of
donde se
the
encuentra,
Casa
sabemos,
Grande del Pueblo, where the
Luis Alberto
President
Arce Catacora y también
Luis
los ministros
Arce
de gobierno, quienes estaban
is-
desarrollando una sesión
is
de
in there.
gabinete, una reunión. Se apostan allí la Policía
The
Nacional
National Police
boliviana
is
con escudos
safeguarding
antimotines, con
the
equipo
entrance
antimotín
of La
para
Casa del
evitar que
Pueblo
los militares puedan ingresar
to
por la
avoid and to
fuerza.
prevent
Esto es lo que está sucediendo en este momento,
the
a esta hora de
entering
la
and the
tarde.
storm
Este es un hecho
of
inusual.
members of the
No se había
armed
registrado
forces
en
to
tantos
get
años de
inside and to
democracia.
storm
Nos
the
emola a lo que se
Casa
registró el
del
año
Pueblo.
2019, cuando se dio el golpe de Estado al entonces presidente Evo Morales,
This is
justamente en esta misma Plaza Murillo,
live images
cuando
from
la
La
gente
Paz
a la cabeza
and from the
de
south is following
Fernando
up
Camacho
all the
ingresaban de
situation that
manera
is taking
violenta con
place.
estos piquetes de desestabilización, vulnerando también lo que se había
The armed forces
catalogado
are
como
trying to
trincheras de
destabilize,
resguardo a
or
Plaza
some
Murillo.
units of
Esto
the armed
no se había
forces
registrado,
are
señores, desde
trying
el
to
año 2019,
destabilize
cuando se gestaba el golpe a
the
la cabeza
democracy
de
in the
Yanine
country.
Áñez. Recordemos
Earlier
un hecho que
today,
marcó también una página
President Luis Arce
de la historia
denounced that
del
irregular
país.
mobilizations
Es
in
una
some units
tanqueta
of the
militar la que ha
Bolivian
golpeado
army
el ingreso de la puerta principal. Ahí vemos
are
también
trying
al general Zúñiga, lo vemos
to
ahí
generate
ingresando a Palacio Quemado.
a conflict
Todos
in
se
the country.
preguntarán si era necesaria esa acción para ingresar, habiendo salido el ministro de Gobierno, Eduardo del Castillo, y también el ministro de Obras Públicas, Edgar Montaño.
Live
a tratar de
images of the
entablar un
current
diálogo con él.
situation
Ahí
in La
está
Paz. We are
ingresando,
seeing live
efectivamente.
images.
Se lo ve acompañado también de
At
parte
this moment,
de
the
los
press is trying
operativos que
to
están
get
con él,
information
de los militares. Han
from
ingresado
high
ya
officials of the
efectivamente
country.
hasta Palacio Quemado para tratar de reunirse. Imaginamos
Military
que
officials
con autoridades
already
de
have
Estado. No
entered the
sabemos, trataremos de confirmar si con el presidente
Palacio
Luis
Quemado
Alberto
to
Arce Catacora,
try to
pero
have a
ha
meeting with the
ingresado ya,
government.
ratificamos
They
la
have
información,
entered They have already entered
Lo tenemos,
the
ahí vemos, esa es la
Palacio
tanqueta donde estaba
Quemado
atrincherado, ha ingresado junto
as a
a otros
heavy
militares
deployment of
hasta
armed
Palacio
forces
Quemado.
officials
La
are
prensa,
outside
incluida
the
TeleSUR, por
building.
supuesto, nuestro corresponsal Freddy Morales está tratando de recoger
Our correspondent
imágenes,
Freddy
también las
Morales
primeras impresiones.
is trying
Vemos la
to
declaración de la
collect
ministra de la
information
Presidencia, María
in
Elena
real
Prada.
time
Escuchemos.
for our audiences to be informed.
I'm Marianela Praz, Minister of the Presidency. And as you can see, we are in the Plaza Murillo, which is already taken by the military tanks and by military troops. We understand this is an army faction that is being mobilized, that's taking out the people that were in the square. And at this moment, they're not allowing any people in the square. They have already started this operation in a regular way. As you can observe, they have already taken all the four corners to get into the Murillo Square. There are troops in 4 squares. There are also troops inside the Murillo Square, and there are also troops at the door. This is what is happening at this moment in the Casa Grande del Pueblo, 28th of July, 1523. Plaza Murillo is already taken by a group of military which have put tanks which are outside of the National Assembly in that building. As you can observe, there are also troops are taking all the street, and they are not allowed anybody to take anybody outside of the. On the other corner, the foreign ministry is there, which is also taken, and they have also closed that street. All the 4 streets leading to the square are taken by the military troops. I'm here in La Casa Grande del Pueblo, from which we have been warning and denounced this attempt of coup, of rupture of the constitutional order. And in this moment, of course, as we have already said, the people are on alert. The organizations are also on alert to defend our democracy, which is the most valuable thing. We have also said for our children, this is what we should avoid. And we have to avoid that this happen again, a coup, a rupture of the constitutional order, which can develop with drastic consequences, as has always happened in our history. We are in Casa Grande del Pueblo. This is a situation that we are looking at. I reiterate, the Murillo Square is totally taken by the military. And we will continue informing the people in Bolivia from the Casa Grande del Pueblo. And we will continue informing all the international community, which we call to pronounce against this attempt of coup.
El mensaje que emite la ministra de la Presidencia, María Elena Prada, desde su oficina, lo reiterábamos, lo habíamos
Of the
adelantado,
government
una
presidency,
transmisión
live from the Casa Grande del Pueblo. She assured that we want to denunciate this coup attempt. The people is alert, organizations are on alert to defend our democracy. This is for the benefit of our future and our children's. We must avoid a coup to happen again. The world must to denounce this. We were listening Marianela Prada, Minister of the Government of the Presidency. We are following all the situations that are taking place at this moment. In La Paz, Bolivia, we are seeing a huge deployment of military forces outside La Casa Grande del Pueblo, where the President Luis Arce is, along with other ministers of his government and also members of the armed forces, as they are trying to have a meeting to solve the situation peacefully.
el comandante de la Policía Nacional Boliviana, como es
We are
habitual. Todo
live
estaba bajo
with La
normalidad,
Paz,
es lo que
Bolivia,
reseñaba el
where
propio
President
ministro
Luis
de
Arce
Obras
has
Públicas,
denounced
Edgar
that
Montaño,
irregular
y de pronto
mobilizations in
se
some
habían
units of the
notificado el
Bolivarian
movimiento
army.
inusual de la
In his
policía
ex
militar, de estos
account,
contingentes militares con tanquetas
President Luis
militares
Arce called
armadas
for democracy to
hasta
be
Plaza
respected.
Murillo, kilómetro cero. Nuestro corresponsal Freddy Morales también está en el lugar de la noticia para
Our
brindarnos
correspondent
detalles de
Freddy
lo que está
Morales
sucediendo hasta ahora en Bolivia
is at the
ante las
place
denuncias también que efectuaba el
trying to
presidente
collect
Arce
all the
Catacora
images
de este
and all the
movimiento inusual que
information
va además en
in real
contradicción,
time.
hay que decirlo, a la propia constitución del Estado plurinacional. Este
We
tipo
are
de movimientos
facing a
no
possible
están
coup
permitidos por la
attempt
supremacía de la
in
ley
Bolivia,
y que vulneran
and we
toda
are also seeing
resolución
how the
que hace a la
people
vida
of
democrática del
Bolivia
país.
is on the
Freddy,
streets.
estábamos escuchando a
Dozens
la
of people
ministra
are
de
on the
la
streets
Presidencia, Marianela
to
Prada,
support the government and
hacer
to
un
support the
llamado a la
democracy
defensa
of
de
the
la
country.
democracia y también señalar de que se está un
There
golpe de
are
Estado.
military
Es una
units
palabra
trying
que
to
se
storm
repite a estas horas de la
the
tarde y que
government
también se ha
palace
hecho eco de distintas autoridades y exautoridades de Estado.
as members and high officials of the government.
Yes, General has already come back to the tank, to the armor car. He hasn't said anything. He just came out from the palace. He went into the tank. It's good to remember that it's the army that is in charge of the security of the president of Bolivia. In this case, there's a regiment which is in custody, the palace, the government palace, and is in charge of the president's security. This regiment, in charge of the president's security, depends on Zuñiga, depends on the army. It's a detail that we have to take into account in these circumstances when the Ministry of the Presidency has warned that a coup has been developing. The military authorities that are inside the palace are responding to General Zuñiga. The armor car that Zuñiga is in is moving. Has moved about 3 meters. We have observed that they have bullets that is handled by a military that is handling from the turret of the armed car. This is the situation until this moment. From moment to moment, tear gas, you can hear tear gas being thrown in the square. The machine gun and the turret and the car, the armor car, has been advancing about 20 meters to push the people that were actually in the area, people that were chanting against what they consider a coup. This tank has gone beyond, has been reinforced by the military police. All the media are actually waiting. A statement will be made now. Let's see if... Give us a second, please.
We are continuing in La Paz, Bolivia, and seeing live images of the current situation in La Paz as a coup attempt is taking place, while in the midst of a deployment of military forces outside of La Casa del Pueblo, where President Luis Arce is due to meet with high officials of the armed forces as well as high officials of the government. We are following all the informations that are coming from La Paz, Bolivia. In this context, former President Evo Morales, in his ex-official account, assured, "We called a national mobilization in defense of democracy to face a coup attempt led by General Zuñiga. We declared national strike and road blockades." Former President also assured, "We will not allow that military forces storm our democracy and storm and affect and damage our people and our democracy." This is from the south. Live images of the current situation in La Paz, Bolivia, a situation that was prompted after threats against former President Morales. President Luis Arce earlier today assured that irregular mobilizations in some units of the Bolivarian army are trying to destabilize the country. In his official X account, President Lucio Arce called for democracy to be respected. Dozens of citizens are on the streets in support of the government of Luis Arce. They met with tear gas launched by military forces deployed in the area nearby La Casa del Pueblo. The ongoing situation was prompted after threats against former President Evo Morales by official and unofficial of the army. Likewise, international reactions are quickly unfolding. The Puebla Group called on Arce to avoid military interventions in politics, and Evo Morales also denounced the irregular movement of troops. The Puebla Group warns against the statements made by the Commander General of the Bolivian Army, General Juan Zuñiga, who has publicly stated his intention to stop and impede a possible candidacy of Evo Morales in the next presidential elections of 2025. Bolivia recovered its democracy in November 2020 after having suffered a civic military coup that installed
General Zuñiga has already come out, and about 20 military army officers have come out. The control of the entry is taken by the army. The ones who are actually ordering to go in and out is the army. The government place, the government house is at the back of this building. It's a very high building. This is the traditional palace of government. We have verified that the ones that are actually ordering are the military officers who are under the army chief. They are the ones that instruct the people inside to open or close the doors. They are the ones that are actually instructing who is allowed to go in or out. This is information that we have verified. So we give that information. There's a lot of military personnel dressed as civilian clothes, and also with dogs. We're waiting for the clarification of the situation about the control over this building. The explosions here you're listening to are tear gas. They're not the fireworks, they are tear gas. The police are sending tear gas once in a while towards the people that are actually chanting slogans against the coup. About 60 meters from the corner of the Palace of Government begins a street that is about a square, a total square, a total block that is beside the National Assembly. Minister of Public Works, Cesar Montaño, has already told us the existence, following our insistence about the situation of Arce. He says that he doesn't know. He says that he was coming here to participate in the meeting when he found this situation which TeleSUR has been showing minute by minute. The tear gas is now intensified. The General Zuñiga continues to be inside the armored vehicles, which is in front of the principal gate of the government palace. We noted that the military staff, very heavily armored, came out of the palace. Something that was obvious that nobody can believe. that the military that are outside obeying the order of Zuñiga are the ones who are ordering the ones that are inside to open the doors. So Zuñiga has a control to the entrance of this palace.
We are seeing images from outside the government palace known as Palacio Quemado. The ones who are giving orders to the military officials deployed outside the government palace are the military officials that are following General Zuñiga's mandate. Let's recall that Luis Arce, the president, is on the Casa del Pueblo, which is in another side of the building, where he's currently meeting with high officials of the army, trying to find a peaceful solution to the situation that is taking place in the country. TeleSUR is showing minute after minute live images and information of the coup attempt that is taking place in La Paz, Bolivia. At this moment, the People's Forum, a leftist movement in the U.S., denounced the attempted coup that is taking place in Bolivia and assured there is a coup attempt in Bolivia, according to Evo Morales. In this moment, tanks and military forces are deployed in the capital La Paz, where they have surrounded the office of the president, Luis Arce Catacora. The popular movements have called to the mobilization of popular urgently to stop this attack to democracy. This is the second organization that is standing by the government of Luis Arce. Earlier today, President Luis Arce denounced that irregular mobilizations in some units of the Bolivian army are trying to destabilize the country. In his official X account, President Lucio Arce called for democracy to be respected. At this moment, dozens of citizens are on the streets in support of the government of Luis Arce, and they have met with tear gas bombs launched by military forces deployed outside the government palace, also known as Palacio Quemado. The ongoing situation was prompted after several threats against former President Evo Morales by an official of the army, a high official of the army. International reactions are still coming in their way. Through a communique, the Puebla Group, a leftist movement in the region, expressed his repudiation to the situation of tensions taking place in La Paz that followed the statements of Army General José Zuñiga against former President Evo Morales. The Minister of Justice, Ivan Lima, announced in his X account that the Ministry of Defense, in accordance with the Constitution, will offer statements on the commander of the Army, General Zuñiga, who gave heavy critics and warnings against former President Morales. Let's recall that General Zuñiga continues as a commander of the army. He participated today in a political act for members of the intelligence organization in the country, and Zuñiga is the one that prompted this situation in the country. We are seeing images of the Murillo Square at this moment. The Minister of Public Works is one of the ministers that are accompanying the people on the streets nearby the Palacio Quemado at this moment.
No, I cannot confirm anything. At the door, where all the journalists are here, there's much gas here. Many people are being gathering at the corners, in the fourth corner of the square. They are chanting democracy, yes, and coup, no. Near the entrance to the palace, all the journalists have been retired. There are about 2 or 3 lines of military staff who are actually preventing the pass and allowing or allowing somebody to go out or inside the palace. I'm about 4 meters from, about 10 meters from the principal gate and from the armored vehicle.
In this moment, we are seeing images live from La Paz, Bolivia.
The Minister of Public Works told us that he has seen a military chief. He cannot say which military grade, but he saw a military in this square. We see a lot of people here, a lot of military staff here around. Zuñiga, military Zuñiga, that the situation is an emergency situation. And all the forces of the army is mobilized. The Minister of Public Works told us the media has getting out of the area of the main gate. Only the lines are formed by the military staff to allow people in and out. The chant continues. You know, people are actually chanting. People that have come in the 4 corners of the square, they have gathered, and above all, this corner to the Palace of Government and the Congress, where more people are. People are actually chanting. The same thing happened in other corners between the cathedral and the Arts Museum. We see a lot of people that are chanting against this mobilization of the army. Now we are close to the gate. We are again here. General is about to leave. Yes, he's leaving now. Zuñiga is leaving. He's out, getting out of the car. One of his assistants opened his door for him. The door has been already closed again. One of his assistants okay, we're not allowed to be too close to the main gate. We're looking now. One of his assistants, he's giving instructions to other military people. They're calling somebody. We're paying attention to the whatever is happening. The gate is not opening. The control of the entrance is in charge of General Zuñiga, because the assistants of the military chief are the ones that are actually allowing people in and out of the government palace. Thus, we will keep you informed about what is going on in this situation. We insist of the term used by the Ministry of the Presidency, that she said that it was an attempt of coup, a coup attempt. That's the description that the government has already said about this situation. When the minister and president were inside trying to hold the weekly meeting of cabinet, the police commander is inside of the palace. We have seen very few presence of police in this area. We can say that less than the regular presence of police in this area. No big manifestation or presence of police in this area. Many military people here dressed in civilian clothes, in different uniforms. They're dressed in different uniforms that have been here in this area. The armed vehicles are still here. There have been one arm of vehicles that have moved around about a few meters who are around the square trying to get close to the people that are chanting against a coup. Let me try to get closer to the area so that you can just listen. It seems that at any moment, General Zuñiga, we're looking now at, soldiers are actually carrying crates. The Condor factory, which makes munitions against demonstrations, are here at the door. Besides the main entrance, these boxes with anti-demonstration products, they're
Nicolás Maduro is offering a statement on the situation in La Paz, Bolivia. The President Lucio Arce is supported by the Latin American people. The people of Simón Bolívar is supporting him, not to fascism, not to cops in the region. You need to see of the importance to defend the peace and stability, to defend the path, the independent path of the countries. We know that the Bolivian people, as in its moment the Venezuelan people did, will know how to face this situation, and they must know that they have the support of Latin America and the Caribbean. They will have the victory will prevail, the democracy will prevail. No more cops, no massacres against the peoples of Latin America. We are in the 21st century. How is possible that they want to impose a coup d'etat? In which constitution it is written? Who is supporting this coup attempt in Bolivia? From Venezuela, repudiated, and we are declaring emergency and in permanent support to Bolivia and the President Luis Arce. We need to be aware of everything that is going on. As I always say, we need to remain calm, and we have to have iron nerves. Our team is going to win. God is with us. God is with us. Dr. Delcy. We were listening to the representatives. Into the declarations and statements of the President Nicolás Maduro, offering his solidarity with the people of Venezuela. Let's give an update on the coup attempt in Bolivia. Today, the General Commander of the Armed Forces gave an interview in which he threatens to arrest Evo Morales, former president of Bolivia. Also, there are rumors of Commander Zuñiga's dismissal. Zuñiga appears publicly at an event as commander. He appeared today in an event as commander, so his dismissal is denied. In the morning of this Wednesday, the high military commanders ordered the military to be quieted and to be supplied. And also at around 3 p.m. local time, military movements began in the Plaza Murillo. Zuñiga entered the plaza in a tankette and announces that he is going to take over the executive and legislative branches. This is all the information updated at the moment. also are reported in the field, assured that armed forces members have next to them a couple of boxes of ammunition from the Condor brand. The situation is taking place after threats offered by General Zuñiga. Earlier today, the President Luis Arce denounced irregular mobilizations in some units of the Bolivian army. In his official X account, the President Lucio Arce called for democracy to be respected. International reactions are taking place as the world is witnessing the coup attempt that is taking place in La Paz, Bolivia. From Cuba, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bruno Rodriguez, assured mobilizations, irregular mobilizations of some units of the Bolivian army are very concerning for the region. Cuba rejects content with heavy strength these acts, and we express our deep solidarity to the President Lucio Arce. Latin America and the Caribbean is a peace zone. Also, the President of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, assured in her official X account, I called for an urgent meeting of the presidents of the members of the CELAC to condemn the fascism that today threats the democracy in Bolivia, and also the presidents of the members.
I was telling our cameraman that we should just go away a little bit. You can see the images. We can see that everybody is affected by the gas that the military have been shooting. The military have carried out here a lot of boxes that have products to spread out the gas. There are military that are actually helping their colleagues because they have also been victim of the gas. We have seen about at least 6 police officers they were the spearhead in the previous coup. And we have seen the 6 police officers who are coordinating with the military staff. This is a very important information that we have to take into account, that a very few group police, specialized police, to dissolve, specialized in dissolving meetings and demonstrations. We have seen that these people are here coordinating with the military police that earlier in the day have been here in the square. This military or police have also shot tear gas against people that are actually claiming and demonstrating against the coup, and who are permanently chanting slogans against this deployment of military in this square. This is one of the information to take into account. Finally, we're actually paying attention that is what is happening around us. The armored vehicle where Zuñiga is the general commander of the army, Zuñiga, is the military continue to open a space so that somebody come in or out of the government palace directly to the armored vehicle where Zuñiga is. This is not changed. No new movement have already been performed. We're going to ask our cameraman to show the police who are actually working together with the military personnel. These people that are actually dressed in black with black pants. And these are the police, special police, effective that have come here, that are coordinating with the military who are deployed in the square. This is very because the Ministry of Public Works have said to us before that the police chief was participating in the meeting inside the government palace. So this is the situation that is going on here. Some colleagues have come to us with us here to this place, which is the crossing of the streets in the corner to the palace of the government and the National Congress, where much of the demonstrations are located and where the military deployment is already taking place. The military are taking out more materials, more stuff from the boxes that are here. We can see that the boxes read Condor, one of the factories that provide munition products, anti-demonstration products to dissolve demonstrations. Lucho is not allowed. That's what people are chanting a few meters from an armored vehicles, practically close to a armored vehicles, the demonstrators that are in the street. We can talk about people going up and down in this, leading to the Palace of Government, leading to the entrance, to the main entrance. More tear gas has been shooting. And as the chanting continues, people are chanting, coup perpetrators. You see tear gas shots. Let's see what is going on down the street. Okay, the president is making a statement. We've been told that the president is making a statement. We cannot go there because the military police is preventing us from doing that. But our colleagues is confirming that President Arce is giving a statement, has come out to the street and is making a statement. And at the main gate of the government palace, we are half a block from the main entrance. That's what is going on. People are continuing chanting that Lucio is not alone. And they're confirming, our colleagues are confirming that President Arce is giving statements below at the entrance. Let's see if the military gives us the possibility to go there. Let's see if our cameraman can go with me to there. Please give me some seconds.
Lucio is not alone. The people are chanting on the streets as they are being shot at with tear gas canisters by the military officers deployed in the Plaza Murillo outside the Palacio Quemado. At this moment, the President Lucio Arce is offering declarations outside the Casa del Pueblo, which is in another part of the building, and the press is not allowed to access there. However, he came out to the streets and he's offering statements. We'll have all the information in a few minutes as our correspondent in the place is trying to access. Let's give an update of what is been going on today in La Paz, Bolivia. TeleSUR and from the south is following the news coming from La Paz, where dozens of citizens are on the streets at this moment, as we can see, in support of the government of Luis Arce, as a heavy military deployment is taking place. Also, we are seeing live images at this moment of how the military forces are shooting tear gas canisters at protesters and the people who is gathering nearby the Palacio Quemado in support of the government of Luis Arce and in support of the democracy in Bolivia. Let's review some of the reactions of the international community and international political figures. For example, the Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel assured in his X account, "It is horrific, all the blow that is taking place against the democracy and against the people of Bolivia." This is what we are seeing of the images of international media that is spreading regarding the Bolivia situation. We condemned the attempt of coup d'etat in Bolivia and the ongoing coup attempt, and we show our deep solidarity.
We reject and we censure strongly the anti-constitutional performance, anti-democratic of the armed forces of Bolivia. At this moment, are trying to take by assault the democracy and our constitutional government. Before this flagrant fact, an attempt of coup, the Central Union of Bolivia, we urge these groups that today pretend to commit this crime to stop this action, which is a terrorist and seditious act against the democracy in the nation. At the same time, let them hear the voice of the people in a responsible way, and as history demands from us, we demand and we summon all the social organizations and trade unions in the country, to all the workers of Bolivia, to all the general people, to rise against this group of coup attempters and violations of democratic rights. At the same time, we summon all the international community to demonstrate against this violation of international treaties and pronounce in defense of our government, the government that has been constitutionally, legally elected, as the only organization in the country before this action in Bolivia. We declared a general strike on as of today. The transfer of all the social organization to the La Paz to defend and to destitute, to stop the forces that are trying to attempt a coup. The revolutionary, long live the national democracy, long live our constitutional government, long live the unity of the Bolivian people, long live democracy, living the Bolivian democracy, long live the unity in the national. Thank you very much, people from the press. We're here meeting in a meeting, and to us, you know, people have, this is an emergency meeting to analyze what is happening now in the government's headquarters, what is going on in the Plaza Murillo. And before these facts, the Bolivian Central Unity Trade Union made a statement and rejects these unconstitutional acts. The workers' union demands the respect to the constitution of the nation, the respect of the people's decision which have elected the constitutional president in the polls. And in the case you don't pay attention to this statement of a social organization, we are going to take the actions ourselves. These actions that we summon all our organizations, base, confederations, workers' union, regional worker unions, to move urgently and now to the headquarters of the government to recuperate the Plaza Murillo, to recuperate the constitutional order, to recover our democracy. That's why we're meeting here. We call to all the sectors, affiliated or not affiliated, to summon, to add to us, to join us, to avoid a coup attempt in this country. And we call to the reflection of all the armed forces to respect the constitutional policy of the state, to respect the people, People have elected the government. The people is in the government, and we have to respect the democratic vote. We call to reflection, because the workers and the organization, social organization, are not going to allow this coup attempt. If we have to if we have to be on the street, we're going to be on the street, and we summon and we call. That's why we declare from this moment on a general strike without any definite date. Long live the Central Bolivian. Long live the unity of the people in Bolivia. Down the golpist, the pushist. Long live democracy.
President of Bolivia, David Choquehuanca, is one of the ones that has been denouncing what is going on, and he assured before the international community the attempted coup d'etat that is brewing in the country against the government of Luis Arce. We are seeing the Minister Marianela Prada and other members of the government.
People of Colombia is already summoned today. We need that the Bolivian people mobilize against the coup attempt in favor of democracy. We cannot allow that once again a coup attempt is developing. We would like to ask you to defend democracy, and we are here in Casa Grande with all the organizations, social organizations. We salute all the social organizations, and we invite them cordially to again show the road to democracy to the Bolivian people. Long live the Bolivian people. Long live democracy. Long live our President Lucho Arce. Long live democracy. Long live the unity of the people. Down with the fascists.
Bolivia, Central Obrera Boliviana, before this attempt, assured that Bolivia pronounces against the flagrant violation against the democracy. We are still seeing images of La Paz, Bolivia. A history demands, as the Workers' Union of Bolivia assured, we to call social organizations and trade unions and the people in general to rise against these perpetrators. We summoned the international community to condemn this act and to defend our people. In the face of this tragic event, the Workers' Union called a general strike as of today and with no limit in date, and all the organization must defend our government. Our unity in the face of lies must prevail. Long live democracy. This was the statement offered by the Workers' Union of Bolivia. Reactions are still coming from all around the world. The President of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, posted on her X account, "I urgently called on the President of the member countries of CELAC to condemn the fascism that today attacks our democracy in Bolivia and demand full respect for civil power and the Constitution. The military forces have once again carried out a criminal coup d'etat. We express our unconditional support to the broader people of Bolivia, to the President Luis Alberto Arce and Evo Morales." Also from Cuba, the President Miguel Díaz-Canel posted on his X account, "The outrage against democracy and the Bolivian people shown in the images from international media this afternoon in Bolivia is outrageous. We repudiate the attempted coup d'etat underway and extend also all the solidarity of the Cuban government and people to the brother Lucio Arce." Also, on his X account, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Cuba expressed, "Irregular mobilizations of some units of the Bolivian army are very worrying. We strongly reject these acts and express our solidarity with the President Lucio Arce. Latin America and the Caribbean is a peace zone." This was the statement published by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Cuba, Bruno Rodriguez, on his official X account.
pueblo boliviano! ¡Que viva! ¡Viva la democracia! ¡Que viva! ¡Que viva nuestro presidente Lucho Arce!
The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, assured on his X account, as we are seeing in the images, we support our most energetic condemned, and we condemned the attempt of coup d'etat in Bolivia. Our total support and respect to the President Luis Alberto Arce Catacora and our authentic authority democratic of the people and this brotherly nation.
Y que mellaron en este momento la democracia en el país, imponiéndose una dictadura el 2019 a la cabeza de Yanine Áñez. No podemos, decía por esta razón Luis Alberto Arce Catacora, permitir que una vez más intentonas golpistas se lleven vidas humanas.
Also, the President-elect of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, assured in her X account, the rise of some units of the armed forces in Bolivia is a threat and a coup against democracy. We condemned energetically these facts, our support, our unconditional support to the President Luis Arce and his people, our respect and our support to the government and to the support of the government of Mexico.
Plaza Murillo ha rodeado con tanquetas militares, con efectivos militares, y junto a ellos, lo decía nuestro corresponsal Freddy Morales, la unidad táctica de operaciones policiales.
We are still reviewing reactions that are coming from all around the world as the world witness what is going on in La Paz, Bolivia. The Cuban president, Miguel Díaz-Canel, has been one of the first political figures of the world that is taking a stance in support of the Bolivian people. In his X account, he assured, the outrage against democracy and the Bolivian people shown in the images from international media this afternoon in Bolivia is outrageous. We repudiate the attempted coup d'etat underway and extend all the solidarity of the Cuban government and people to brother Lucio Arce. Also, the Vice President of Bolivia, David Choquehuanca, denounced before the international community the attempted coup d'etat that is brewing in the country against the government of Luis Arce. Through a post on the social network X, the Bolivian Vice President said, "We denounce to the international community that in Bolivia there is a coup d'etat against our democratically elected government." Also, the Puebla group called on Arce to avoid military intervention in politics and ever denounced the irregular movement of troops. The Puebla group warned against the statement made by the Commander-General of the Bolivian Army, General Juan Zuñiga Macías, who has publicly stated his intention to stop and impede a possible candidacy of Evo Morales in the next presidential elections of 2025. Bolivia recovered its democracy in November 2020 after having suffered a civic military coup that installed a de facto government a year earlier. Now the institutions of the rule of law are fully in place. It is inadmissible that the leader of the Bolivian army threatens to take up arms to prevent a citizen from running for president of the country. We therefore condemn such a statement and call on the international democratic community to follow closely and denunciate any attempt by the armed forces to intervene in the process of electing civil society authorities. We also call upon President Luis Arce, whose attachment to democratic institutionality is known to us, to enforce the sacred principle of the non-intervention of the public force in politics. This was the statement of the Puebla group. Also, the Workers' Union of Bolivia, in a televised appearance, assured that before this attempt, Bolivia pronounces against the flagrant violation against the democracy. As history demands, we call for social organization and trade unions and the people in general to rise against these perpetrators. We summon the international community to condemn this act and to defend our people. In the face of this tragic event, the Workers' Union called a general strike as of today. All the organization must defend the government. Our unity must prevail in the face of lies. Long live democracy. That were the statements made by the Workers' Union of Bolivia a few months ago, as we showed. We are seeing live images of the Plaza Murilla, where a correspondent, Freddy Morales, is at the site trying to recover and to comply and compile all the information that is coming out at this hour. Lucio is not alone. The people are chanting on the streets as they're being shot at with tear gas canisters by the military officers deployed in the Plaza Murillo outside the Palacio Quemado. It was news that the President, Luis Arce, offered statements outside the Casa del Pueblo, which is in another part of the building, and the press is not allowed to access.
A través de su cuenta en la red social X dice: indigna el atropello a la democracia y al pueblo boliviano que muestran la imagen de medios internacionales esta tarde en Bolivia, dice Díaz-Canel. Repudiamos el intento de golpe de Estado en marcha y extendemos toda nuestra solidaridad al gobierno y al pueblo cubano, al hermano Luis Arce Catacora, destaca por supuesto.
In statements from the South, Marinela Prada, Minister of the Government Presidency, assured live from the Casa Grande del Pueblo that we want to denunciate this coup attempt. The people is alert, organizations are on alert to defend our democracy, and this must be for our children and for our future. We must avoid a coup to happen again. The world must denunciate it. Also, former President Evo Morales, in his ex-official account, assured that we called a national mobilization in defense of democracy to face a coup attempt led by General Zuñiga. We declared a national strike and road blockades. Images from outside the former government palace, known as Palacio Quemado, is what we are seeing at this moment.
Vamos a leer en este caso las declaraciones. Escuchamos lo que dice la vicepresidenta de Nicaragua, Rosario Murillo.
Yeah, the situation that Bolivia is living, the people have seen their desire of tranquility and democracy has been damaged. We reject the maneuvers and the military movement that is being developing in the center of the Bolivian capital, La Paz. In this attempt to destroy the efforts of the people of that country to advance and to walk their own path for their own democratic model and their willingness to create their own destiny, aspiration, and rights to create their own destiny without any interference of any foreign or any interference of any type from Nicaragua, that we have lived a history of aggression and intervention from foreign powers. Our solidarity, clear and definite, with that brother people, with his president, our comrade Luis Arce, with his vice president Javier Jopenguanca, and with our brother Evo Morales, former president and social leader and popular leader of that great people. Please have force, brother Bolivian people. This coup attempt will not pass. Beyond that, we signed this communication, our President Daniel Ortega and myself, and the family of this Nicaragua, blessed, dignified, and above all, brother and solidarity with the people of the free people, the courageous people of the whole world. We are with the Bolivian people this afternoon, with our beloved people of so many struggles, of so many history, and once again, we are sure that the people will be victorious of this aggression that will go to the history of aggression that they are actually planning against the people of Latin America. And we know that we can always go beyond that to construct and build the future our people want, and we demand is our right. Comrades, we should be attentive to what is happening in La Paz, in Bolivia, in that area, and with that beloved people of Bolivia.
Declaraciones de la vicepresidenta de Nicaragua, Rosario Murillo, condenando también este intento de golpe de Estado, rechazando las posiciones fascistas que se generan a esta hora en el Estado plurinacional.
These were the reactions at this moment of the Vice President Rosario Murillo regarding the situation that is taking place in La Paz, Bolivia, where a coup attempt is taking place at this hour. The world is witnessing with concern what is taking place in La Paz, Bolivia, against the democracy and against the government of Luis Arce Catacora. At the moment, we are seeing images from the Plaza Murillo, where a high official of the armed forces is taking a stand and speaking to the press. Let's recall that our armed forces are deployed in the Plaza Murillo.
Look at the crisis that they have left us. The armed forces is trying to restructure democracy, a true democracy, not democracy of few people, not some lords that for 40 years have handled this country. We have decided that freedom of all the political prisoners it's not acceptable that people that are under us are in prison. We're going to liberate all the political prisoners, from Camacho, to generals, to colonels, to captains that are in prison. These are requests from the armed forces, from the soldiers, and we're going to accomplish that. We want to establish democracy. A few people have got hold of democracy in this country. The people doesn't have any future. The army has the courage to guarantee the future of our children, for the well-being and progress of our people. An elite has taken hold of state. The request of our military units that we will soon liberate all the prisoners, all the political prisoners, from Camacho, the colonels, generals, mayors, captains who are political prisoners. What democracy we're talking about? How long Morales has been in politics? How many years? Is that democracy? They're taking advantage of the poverty and innocence of the people of the rural areas. Is that democracy? We're going to restitute democracy. We're going to recover democracy. All the military are garrisoned in all the territory, all the national territory. You have to be attentive of the new information, next information.
We are seeing live images again from the Plaza Murillo, where a high official of the armed forces were giving statements to the press. And as in this context, let's keep sharing the reactions that are coming from all corners of the world, witnessing with concern what is taking place in La Paz, Bolivia. For her part, the Executive Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, posted through her social media X, "We categorically condemned any fascist and anti-democratic act that seeks to disturb the peace and alter the order of the Bolivian people. To the President Luis Arce, its government and people, we send all our support and solidarity." The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela denunciates and rejects the way, in the most energetic way.
Okay, General Camacho is in prison very near this area. General Zuñiga has announced to the media the liberation of Yanine Áñez, who has been in prison in the women's prison at about 14 blocks from here. Yanine Áñez is there, and Zuñiga has announced the liberation of Ñañez and also his colleagues, military colleagues that are in prison. This is the situation. General Zuñiga has said that the army is going to reestablish democracy. The army is not going to allow the old politicians. He mentioned the Evo Morales. So once again, he has said in this armored vehicle, he has said once again that the politicians are being taking advantage of the poor people, and he's going to recover and reestablish the democracy in this country. When journalists asked him if it was an attempt of coup, and if he's going to talk with Arce, he didn't say anything, and he only said that the army was going to reestablish democracy in this country, and that all the armed forces are actually garrisoned in all the country. He also said that the 4 armies in this mobilization. General Zuñiga has also said that an operative of liberation of the political prisoner has already begun, beginning from the governor of Santa Cruz, Camacho, at about 25 kilometers from La Paz, in a maximum security prison. He has also said that Yanine will be liberated. So we can infer a relation that the police, anti-mutiny police, are jointly working with the military. The people that are the military that are in prison are in prisons that are in charge or controlled by the police, special police. All the military are garrisoned in all the country and the city in order to prevent any demonstrations. They demand the change of all the cabinets.
We were listening to TeleSUR correspondent Freddy Morales, who is on site to inform in first hand on the coup attempt taking place in Bolivia. He assured that the General Zuñiga assured to the press that the armed forces is the one that will restore democracy in the country. He assured. A liberation of political prisoners have already begun. This is the information given by our correspondent Freddy Morales, according to the general. However, jails in the country are on charge of national police. We keep showing the reactions of political figures of the world and the region. From Venezuela, the Foreign Minister Ivan Gil assured that the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela denunciates and rejects in the most energetic way the coup attempt that is taking place against the government of the president-elect of the plurinational state of Bolivia, led by Arce Catacora. And this coup is being executed by some of the units of the armed forces and the traitors of La Paz today. The government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela makes a call to the international community, especially to the community of states of Latin America and the Caribbean, CELAC, up to mobilize in favor of the democracy of Bolivia and repudiate this new coup attempt that tries to impose a fascist regime against the popular forces of a brotherly country. Venezuela expresses its absolute support to the people of Bolivia and the President Luis Arce, and he is supported by the necessary actions. Venezuela expresses its absolute support to the Bolivian people and its President Luis Arce, and supports the actions needed to defeat this new attempt against the democracy led by the groups of the dark forces, of the armed forces that have tried to take Latin America towards a state of violations, of systematic violations of rights conquered by the social movements and popular movements in our region. Moreover, the President of the Republic of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, said on his X account, "Total rejection of the military coup in Bolivia. I invite all the Bolivian people to democratic resistance. Latin America must unite in favor of democracy. The Colombian embassy must grant refugee to the persecuted. There will be no diplomatic relationship between Colombia and the dictatorship. An anti-democratic coup is met with widespread mobilization of the people." Let's listen to our correspondent, Freddy Morales.
Some minutes ago, General Zuñiga has come out of the armored vehicle to announce the liberation of the political prisoners. And he has mentioned expressly the de facto president in 2019, Janine the Army General also mentioned expressly the name of other people, the government of Santa Cruz, for example, Camacho, who is in prison for participating in a coup attempt. He has said that no prisoner, political prisoner will remain in Bolivian jails, either who are in prison or in house prison. He has also said, or inferred to say, that this operation has already begun. This is the situation up to this moment.
We were listening to TeleSUR. TeleSUR correspondent was speaking at this moment from the Plaza Murillo and assured that the armed forces is offering statements, and the General Zuñiga offered statements regarding the liberation of political prisoners, a process that have already begun according to Zuñiga. Morales recalled that Zuñiga assured that no political prisoner will remain in Bolivian jails, either if they are in prison or home prison. He also said that this operation has already begun. This is what Zuñiga said, and this is the situation at this moment. We are seeing live images of the Plaza Murillo outside the government palace, or Palacio Quemado, where we can see a heavy deployment of military officials amid this ongoing coup attempt. The President Luis Arce is in La Casa del Pueblo, which is in another part of the building. He's safe, and he's meeting with high officials of the armed forces, trying to find a peaceful solution for the current situation. Let's move to some reactions from the international community. The President of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, posted on her X account a few moments ago, "I urgently call on the presidents of the member countries of CELAC to condemn the fascism that today attacks democracy in Bolivia and demand full respect for civil power and the Constitution. The military forces have once again carried out a criminal coup d'etat. We express our unconditional support to the brotherly people of Colombia, to the President Luis Alberto Arce and Evo Morales." Also from Cuba, the President Miguel Díaz-Canel posted on his X account, "The outrage against democracy and the Bolivian people shown in the images from international media this afternoon in Bolivia is outrageous. We repudiate the attempted coup d'etat underway and extend all the solidarity of the Cuban government and the people to brother Luis Arce." From Spain, the Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez posted on his X account, "Spain strongly condemns the military movements in Bolivia. We send the government of Bolivia and its people our support and solidarity and call on them to respect democracy and the rule of law."
We can't move any place. It's impossible to get closer. A new commander-in-chief of the armed forces had been appointed already. We have to point out that in the second presence of General Zuñiga, he has been tough in relation to what this military movement's intentions are. He has said that he will just install a new Bolivia. He said that the political class in Bolivia has taken advantage of the poor. And he's also said that the armed forces began to liberate the political prisoners which were detained for the coup attempt in 2019.
We were listening to our TeleSUR correspondent Freddy Morales, who is on site to inform in first hand on the coup attempt taking place in Bolivia. He assured that Zuñiga commented that a new commander-in-chief has been appointed in the country, and also assured that the political class in Bolivia has taken advantage of the people. These were the words of Zuñiga, according to our correspondent Freddy Morales. Freddy Morales was reporting from the side, from the Plaza Murillo, where you can hear the shots of the tear gas canisters being thrown at the people who gathered in the Plaza Murillo to support the government of Luis Arce. The tear gas canisters are thrown at the people by the armed forces military deployed in the Plaza Murillo. We are expecting a statement from high officials of the government to speak to address the situation, the current situation that is taking place in the country. Let's keep recalling the international reactions that are taking place, that are coming from all corners of the world. Let's go to Venezuela, where the executive vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, posted through her social media. We categorically condemn any fascist and anti-democratic act that seeks to disturb the peace and alter the order of the Bolivian people. To the President Luis Arce, its government and people, we send all our support and solidarity. Now let's review some reactions of the X platform on this issue. For example, user Loli Amber wrote on her profile, "How a coup d'etat in Bolivia. Everything we are experiencing in the region is tremendous, huge, and strength from Argentina." Another user of the platform X, Oscar, said, "Is a military coup d'etat brewing? Let's pray not. It would be another disaster for our beaten Bolivia." For his part, Rodrigo Sansin published, "May Bolivian democracy prevail at the end of the day, President." Also, Álvaro Mollinedo mentioned in his account, "Strength, brother President, the people will not allow any coup." Let's go with the President Luis Arce, who is going to offer statements.
Un nuevo alto mando militar. Escuchemos al presidente.
De la Fuerza Aérea Boliviana y al vicealmirante Renan Wilson Guardia Ramírez, comandante general de la Guardia Armada. Toma posición nuestro hermano presidente constitucional del Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia, Luis Alberto Arce Catacora.
Yes, we have
desea hacer la señal que se presente su profesión, su fe o doctrina ideológica.
Please state your doctrine.
Juran por los próceres de la liberación,
Do you
por nuestros héroes,
pray for our heroes that gave their life for the
por
homeland,
el pueblo boliviano,
for the Bolivian
por
people,
la igualdad de todos los
and
seres
for the
humanos,
equality of all human beings?
las funciones de General
Do
de
you swear that you will perform
Sánchez Velázquez,
your responsibility,
General del Ejército,
Commander of the Army,
División Aérea Gerardo Zavala Álvarez,
Division
Comandante General
Commander
de la Fuerza Aérea
of
Boliviana,
the Armed Forces of Bolivia,
Vicealmirante Renan Wilson
Vice
Guardia
Almirant,
Ramírez, Comandante General
Admiral
de la Armada Boliviana,
of the Bolivian
en
Army,
estricto cumplimiento y respeto a la
and that you will
Constitución
respect
política
the
del
political
Estado
constitution of
y
the
de las
state
leyes del Estado
and the law of the plurinational Bolivia state.
Si así lo hace, que nuestros próceres de la liberación,
Please, that our
nuestros héroes,
heroes of our liberation
pueblo boliviano,
of the
nos
Bolivian
premien.
people are
Caso
actually
contrario,
praise
nos
you
castiguen.
in case of
Quedan
you're not
posicionados
in charge or you not do what you are responsible for, you will be chastised.
de Bolivia.
You are in position of the post that you've been appointed.
Los aplausos, por favor, de esta manera. Ha tomado juramento nuevas autoridades.
New authorities have sworn in their position.
Asumen este mandato en manos de nuestro hermano presidente, precautelar y cuidar al pueblo boliviano, a nuestras hermanas y hermanos.
We were listening to the President Luis Arce live from La Paz, Bolivia, as he appointed new chiefs and new authorities of the armed forces of the country. This happened amid a full room of people who showed their support to the President Luis Arce and to the government. With this new appointment, the government seeks to defend the democracy of the country with new authorities that will defend the stability of the country and likewise will respect the authority of the government and the state of Bolivia. We are still seeing live images, live from La Casa del Pueblo. One of the chiefs that have been newly appointed is said to offer statements.
President of the plurinational Bolivian state and Chief of the Armed Forces, Brother Vice President, distinguished authorities, and Minister, High Command of the Army, public that is here, the press, ladies and gentlemen. For these circumstances, however, it is a satisfaction to occupy the post of the commander of the army, of the Bolivian army. It's a responsibility that is falling on us. So we appreciate to our brother president, to our brother minister of defense and the high command to trust us. It is a very special situation because nobody desires to see the image that we're looking at in the streets. Nobody. That is why, in my condition of General Commander of the Army and in representation of the three commanders of the forces, I ask or order, I say that all the personnel that is mobilized in the streets should return to their units. General Juñiga has been a good commander, and we ask him not to let blood of our soldiers in the streets. Brother President, this new high commander of the forces, we're going to accomplish what the Constitution says, the political constitution of the state, and what the law demands from our military personnel. We're going to be interested in that the local legal constitutional situation remains according to what the Constitution says. Thank you very much.
Agradecemos las palabras del señor comandante. Y ese es el grito desde Casa Grande del Pueblo. Y a continuación tendremos palabras de circunstancia a cargo de nuestro hermano presidente constitucional del Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia, Luis Arce Catacora.
We are looking at live images, and we are just about to listen to President of Bolivia, Luis Arce, address the situation from the government house. Let's listen.
Muy buenas tardes a todas y todos. Saludar a nuestro presidente David Choquehuanca, vicepresidente.
To our Vice President,
Los invitados a este acto de posesión de los comandantes de las tres fuerzas armadas. Saludamos a nuestras hermanas ministras, hermanos ministros presentes, viceministros de Estado. Saludamos al hermano vicealmirante.
We salute our brother, Brigadier in Chief of the Armed Forces of the state, to the Division General Wilson Sanchez Velázquez, General Commander of the Army, to General of Division, Air Division, General of the Air Forces, and Vice Admiral, to the General Commander of the Bolivian Army, to the Division of the Armed Forces and the General Division, Marcial Gabriel Serraza Gutierrez, General Commander of the all outgoing commanders, to the military personnel that is accompanying him, to the Vice Admiral, Brigadier, to all who are present in this opportunity, to the Bolivian people that are actually following us as the means of communication and social media. Without any doubt, today has been a very atypical day in the life of a country that wants democracy. We are asking today, we are trying to avoid a coup attempt by the military that are trying to stain their uniform, who are attempting against our political constitution. But also, we count on military that know that our political constitution and respect the law is very important. We salute to those who are military and they dress their uniform with pride, and they validate the political laws of a state, of a government that was elected democratically. We reject the attitude of those militaries that unfortunately repeat the recent history of the country, trying to carry out a coup when the Bolivian people have always been a democratic people. We are in a situation in which the national government in Casa Grande, together with its cabinet and with ministers, with our brothers, Vice President, and together with the Bolivian people, and together with a good military that know how to respect the constitution of the country. We have to respect the democracy that has been won by the vote of the people. We salute the Bolivian people who is actually around this square trying to defend the government. We salute the international organs that have rejected this act, to the friendly countries that have pronounced themselves in favor of democracy in Bolivia. We salute all who are at this moment making statements, governors, mayors, social organizations, who are pronouncing themselves against any action against the democracy of the people in Bolivia. We salute the commander of police of the Bolivian police, who have kept to the law as it should be, as the police should behave. We would like to salute the presence of our brother who represents the culture, and also the Women Confederation, we also salute the presence of all the Bolivians in social media who are rejecting this coup attempt, that the only thing they're doing is damage the democracy image of our country before the world, in moments in which the Bolivians need to work in order to put the country forward. We are sure that with everything that is happening today in our country, and that with these appointments that we have made today, we're going to abolish and to put down the coup attempt intentions of some military. We call the Bolivian people to mobilize. We call the Bolivian people to keep the calm, because all Bolivians together, we're going to vanquish all the coup attempt in this country. We also would like to salute the former commander of Air Forces and salute the 3 new commanders to respect not only the political constitution of the Bolivian state, that is actually because the military command cannot be broken. the military should respect the constitutional situation in the country. We will continue to work together with our military so that we can continue and guarantee that the military forces be in the service of the people. Thank you very much.
Constitucional del Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia. Lucho, no estás solo. Este es el grito de tu pueblo. Es el grito de...
Ha culminado el acto oficial en la juramentación de los nuevos comandantes de las Fuerzas Armadas de Bolivia. Ratificamos José Sánchez Velázquez como comandante.
We were just listening to the Bolivian President Luis Arce from the government house addressing this situation that has been underway in the South American country. Once again, he called to respect democracy. Let's recall that hours ago, the president denounced irregular mobilizations from the National Army as a coup attempt. And later on, military units tried to enter the government house. We are looking at live images right now from the Plaza Murillo. After the president's statements, in his address, Luis Arce thanked all the announcements made in support of his government and democracy in the country against the coup attempt. And the people cheered and shouted that the Bolivian president is not alone, clearly in a stance against the coup attempt. Before his announcement, the Bolivian president was preceded by the Commander General of the Army, who ordered all units in the streets to return to their positions and respect the democratic order, a statement that was backed by the president and cheered by the people. So we are now looking at live images from the Murillo Square, and we're looking at the military police who are getting off the square. Let's recall that these images that we're looking live from Bolivia come just minutes after the president and the general commander of the army have addressed the nation and clearly ordered all units to go back to their positions, and they have been called to respect the democratic order. Let's recall that we are, from the past hours, witnessing what has been denounced as a coup attempt by the president himself. Luis Arce just hours ago tweeted on his social network X that there were irregular mobilizations from the army. Let's listen to our correspondent Freddy Morales from the site.
No podemos entablar contacto con nuestro corresponsal. La comunicación está dificultosa a esta hora. Entendemos que es por la cantidad de medios de comunicación que han levantado señal desde que...
We have not been able to establish contact right now. We are waiting from statements from our correspondent, Freddy Morales, who is in the Murillo Square just after the declarations, the statements made by the Bolivian President Luis Arce and also the Commander General of the Army, who have called all military units in the square to go back to their positions and restore democratic order. These are live images from the Murillo Square. Let's recall that also different political leaders from the country and also from the region have quickly stated their position defending the democratic order, defending the presidency of Luis Arce in what was denounced as a coup attempt in the country. Let's recall that Bolivia also had a coup attempt that was actually carried out in the year 2019. So leaders and the Bolivian president and the whole community themselves were very emphatic on this not happening again. We're now watching how the reactions unveil in the Murillo Square. outside the government house. These are live images. We've been covering this from the south with the help of our correspondent, Freddy Morales, from site. We have been following closely ever since the Bolivian president denounced the coup attempt, and we've just had the statements from the Bolivian president restoring the order, the democratic order in the country. We have different authorities have been issuing their statements on the situation. The last order that was issued just minutes ago was for all military units to retreat from the Murillo Square, where they had been positioned. Again, we recall after the president had denounced irregular mobilizations from military units. We also witnessed military units trying to get inside the government house. But just minutes ago, we had official statements from the General Commander of the Army and also from the Bolivian president restoring the order. Let's go and see some of the international reactions that were carried out after these events. We are now looking on screen to the social network post of Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez, who said that Spain strongly condemns the military movement in Bolivia. We send the government of Bolivia and its people our support and solidarity and call on them to respect democracy and the rule of law. This is just one of the examples of how this significant event has quickly impacted world leaders, not only from the region, but also from Europe. Of course, seeing as how the democratic order was at stake, this issued several replies from all world leaders backing the presidency of Luis Arce, urging all authorities in the country to respect the order, not to let yet another crime against the democratic order to be able to affect the political order in Bolivia. Again, we're looking at live images from the Murillo Square. This is after the statements made by President Luis Arce, who was also backed by the army authorities, who have ordered all military units who were not responding to the presidential order to go back to their positions. Just hours before, the square had been cleared of civil personnel by the military units who were surrounding the government house and who even tried to trespass and come inside the government house. Now the situation, we're looking at how the situation continues outside the government house. Just after the presidential statement, a statement that had been long awaited and is being followed by nationals and also by the entire world. We were just looking at the reaction from Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sánchez, for example, to really be able to conceive the importance, the political transcendence of such an event and the importance that the democratic order is restored. We continue looking at international reactions, and this is Brazilian President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva, who also condemned the act of coup d'etat in Bolivia and reaffirmed his commitment to President Luis Arce. Through a post on the social network X, the president of Brazil, Lula, pointed out that Brazil's position is clear. He said that I am a lover of democracy and I wanted to prevail throughout Latin America. We condemn any form of coup d'etat in Bolivia and reaffirm our commitment to the people and democracy in the sister country presided by Lucho ex-Bolivia. That's the username of the president of Bolivia, Luis Arce. Let's recall that this is a very important statement, as Lula and Brazil themselves are facing the consequences of a coup attempt that tried to happen just after Lula's inauguration. That attempt, of course, failed, and Brazil is now prosecuting all of those involved. And so Lula's reaction is very important as a way of claiming the importance of democracy in the region and the idea that democracy needs to prevail. We've been looking at international reactions as we've also follow live images and also images from what was happening just hours ago in the Murillo Square in Bolivia. And now we are looking at more reactions that were stated in the social network X in this case. President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, stated total rejection of the military coup in Bolivia. I invite all the Bolivian people to democratic resistance. Latin America must unite in favor of democracy. The Colombian embassy must grant refuge to the persecuted. There will be no diplomatic relationship between Colombia. Let's go and listen to correspondent Freddy Morales.
Yes, the army vehicles are already disbanded. The General Zuñiga was inside one of those armored vehicles where he stayed the whole time during the coup attempt, and he was the first one to leave. The political center in this Bolivia, to the Zuñiga's vehicle, armored vehicle, followed the rest of the armored vehicle in the square, and all the military staff that were deployed and had taken this square have already disbanded. They went to the trucks that brought them here to go back to their places of origin. The police have already taken practically control of all the entries to the square. There's a lot of people that have been coming here, that are here to celebrate. People are singing the national anthem. The coup attempt has not won. And now the people in front of the Palace of Government are singing the national anthem. We're getting close to this area just to show you the situation now. The coup has already lost, and Zuñiga, who was actually in the post of the General of the Army, is now relieved of his charges. And he was the first one to leave at all speed from the square once the new Ministry of Armed Forces say and order the military staff to leave the square and go back to their places of origin. The rest of the armed forces military cars left following that of the General of Zuñiga. And now the Bolivian people are now here in the square celebrating the failure of this coup attempt that was attempted by the former commander of the army, Zuñiga. Governmental authorities have announced that come to this square to verify the leaving of the armed forces that were attempting against the government of Bolivia, who participated in this coup attempt. Let's get closer to the authorities Minister of the Interior Security. Mr. Minister, we are live in TeleSUR. We denounce before the international community this new attempt. As a national government, we've been denouncing that a coup was in the making, and we were denouncing that. And today, the authorities and organizations and we as citizens have taken the street, not as those people that have left. We're here to put our breast to say to the military that the laws in this country are to be respected, and the Constitution of the Bolivian are on our side. And that has allowed us to consolidate and to tell our president that they are not alone, that the unities, that the people is supporting the president and to defend the democracy in Bolivia. Zuñiga said that the four forces were compromised in this coup. This is part of the investigative process. They have to respond to the justice of this coup attempt, for this attempt of bloodletting, for this attempt to break the armed forces command. We are here in the streets to defend our democracy and to tell our president that he's not alone, that the authorities are here to defend the process. To this moment, we don't have any report of the people that have been arrested, but we know that they have people that have been wounded by the tear gas that have been shot, people that have problems with breathing because of the gas that were shot at their faces. And we are continuing to be here to defend our democracy. That was the Vice Minister of the Interior, and together with other authorities that have come to this square when the military forces disbanded after, and they come here to the putschists were trying to demand the government to create a new cabinet. And they were also trying to liberate the political prisoners that were arrested when the coup attempt happened in 2019. We're showing here that as you will see, there are hundreds of people that continue to arrive at the square to express their happiness for the failure of this coup attempt, as the President Luis Arce has denounced in the two occasions that he made presence while this attempt was developing from the Legislative Assembly. Parliamentary members of the parliamentary also denounced the attempt of coup, and investigation would start, as the President said, to establish responsibility for this action. To avoid that this democracy is again at risk. This coup attempt happened 4 years after the last coup attempt that was in 2019, and that had a human cost, a very high human cost. More than 500 people were wounded in that coup. And more than 1,000 people were arrested at that time. And that happened when the Janine was self-proclaimed as president. And they condemned that situation for breaking the law of that country, of our country, and became the president of Bolivia at that time. People continue to arrive here at the square. We're showing the main entrance of to the palace of government, where now a banner, a placard has been extended here that say, "We are the government." We see hundreds of people that are coming here to celebrate the failure of the coup attempt. Let's listen.
Podemos apreciar que ya son, podemos decir, miles de personas las
We
que han
can say now
llegado
that it's
hasta la
now
Plaza Murillo.
thousands of
Había
people that
grupos que
have
estuvieron
come here.
resistiendo.
We were listening to Freddy Morales, correspondent, TeleSUR correspondent, live from Bolivia.
Toda la tarde estuvieron gritando consignas en contra del golpe de Estado, en contra de la movilización militar.
What we're looking at are live images from the Murillo Square just after the military units have retreated from the square after Bolivian president addressed the nation, also followed by newly named military authorities who ordered all military units to retreat from the square and to go back to their positions and restore the democratic order. So what we're seeing now are the people who filled the square in support of the President Luis Arce, the democratic order, and who are cheering against the possible coup attempt that has actually failed. And that is why we now see a square filled with people. Different authorities, Bolivian authorities, ministers were addressing the nation, denouncing also before the international community these destabilization attempts. But we are happy to say that this attempt has failed and that the people are out on the streets hours after moments of great tension were lived and are being followed closely by everyone in Bolivia, in the region, and also in the world. We can listen to the people who are cheering at the Murillo Square. Let's recall that the series of events that led to this moment. Hours ago, the Bolivian president denounced irregular movements, irregular mobilizations from military units. The government and also international leaders called this a coup attempt and stated that the military units, factions of the military, were attempting a coup d'etat. We actually saw military units siege the government house.
People continue to come to the square of Murillo. People here are celebrating the defeat of the coup attempt, which was led by Zuñiga as former army officer chief who was destituted by the president. And now we have a new commander of the armed forces. And now there's an investigation going on to find out what happened with the other army officers, whether they actually supported or not this coup attempt. Thousands of people, I insist, that are actually coming here to the square.
Están esperando las personas que están en la puerta principal de la Plaza Murillo. Están esperando.
People at the entrance are waiting that an authority comes out to salute the crowd.
Debemos informarles también.
We should also inform you that in this disbanding of the army, when General Juan abandoned this place, the people that were at the corner, the civilians that were supporting Luis Arce, started insulting the military. And there was some attempt of exchange between military and the people. They started to shoot tear gas
de este Palacio de Gobierno, el antiguo Palacio de
People are trying to get into the palace of government.
Intenta poner algo de orden acá. Insistimos también en que efectivos de la policía boliviana tomaron el control de los principales.
The police of the Bolivian state took control of the square
Intentar poner algo de orden porque son miles
to try to put some order because thousands of people are actually here now.
We continue looking at reactions of what we were witnessing in Bolivia. In this case, we're looking at the social network post on X by President of Uruguay, Luis Lacalle Pou, who said, "We strongly condemn the events taking place in Bolivia carried out by a sector of its armed forces which threaten its democratic and constitutional order. We express our solidarity with the legitimate government of the president." This was stated by Uruguay's president, Luis Lacalle Pou. And of course, all of these reactions came just minutes ago, before the democratic order was restored in Bolivia, as we can see from the images and as our correspondents and collaborators are reporting live from Bolivia. The situation has drastically changed in favor of the democratic order after Bolivian President Luis Arce was able to address the nation, name new military authorities, and fail the coup attempt that was carried out by Zuñiga. We now see images in which we can see Bolivian President Luis Arce with the people celebrating the failed coup attempt as the democratic order is restored. Let's recall that just hours ago, this same square had been, all civilian personnel had been removed and military units were in place. We even saw General Zuñiga, who has apparently left this coup attempt. We are now listening to the Bolivian President Luis Arce. We are following closely. We are following closely to hear the Bolivian president speak and address the people at the Murillo Square. Let's listen. We are still looking at the images as people continue to cheer, and Luis Arce is apparently set to address the square. We were saying just before, this square hours ago was sieged by military units. Now that military personnel has retreated from the square after the newly appointed military authorities ordered their retreat, and so the Murillo Square has been filled with the people who were celebrating the triumph of democracy, the triumph of the democratic order, and now Bolivian President Luis Arce is seen close to his people. He is approached by the media, international, national media. He's approached by the people who have been cheering in favor of democracy. We are following closely to this event in Bolivia, and we are awaiting to see if we can get the statements, the live statements from the Bolivian president from the square with the people. Just minutes ago, we heard his official statement from the government house. That was when he ordered, together with the military authorities, the retreat of military personnel who were not responding to the presidential orders. And This is what happened. The military units retreated, the democratic order was restored, and now we see the president who is waving and cheering with the people just outside the government house as Bolivia overcomes a new destabilization attempt, a very serious destabilization attempt, especially considering Bolivia's history with anti-democratic attempts that have taken out democratic presidencies, as happened with Evo Morales in the year 2019. In this case, the result is a positive one, as we see Luis Alberto Arce Catacora, Luis Arce, President of Bolivia, waving at the Murillo Square as the democratic order has been restored after hours of tension, in Bolivia. Let's recall that just minutes after the president and government authorities denounced irregular mobilizations by the military units, there were a lot of different leaders from the world that issued their statements of support to the president of Bolivia, to the democratic order in Bolivia. We were going over the reactions from Brazilian President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva, from Cuban President Díaz-Canel, from Mexico elected President Claudia Sheinbaum, and Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, all very significant leaders in the region and also close allies to the government of Luis Arce. But support came also from other governments that may not be as close to the political views of the government of Luis Arce, but also took the opportunity to claim and position themselves against a coup d'etat, which of course needs to be a regional position across the political spectrum. So we also saw statements from Uruguay's President Luis Lacalle Pou, for example, Bolivian former President Evo Morales, which has been in a contradictory relationship with Luis Arce. Nonetheless, of course, in this significant moment for the Bolivian nation, issued his full support of Arce's presidency and heavily denounced the coup attempts, defending democracy and denouncing the coup attempt of General Zuñiga. Let's recall that General Zuñiga was the military authority that is being signaled as the one who commanded this coup attempt. He was also seen just hours ago trying to enter with military units the government house, as the square was in a complete siege with military personnel. Of course, the situation now is completely different. The Murillo Square is filled with celebrating people from the civilian population, from workers and civilian organizations, from political authorities who are claiming and celebrating the reestablishment of the democratic order. Let's recall that the Workers' Union, the Central Workers' Union, also called for specific mobilizations, peaceful mobilizations, in support of the democratic order, and of course in such an event as the one we have been witnessing in Bolivia for the past hours, the civilian organizations and the civilian mobilizations are key to restore the democratic order. We'll see if we can listen to what is happening now in front of the Murillo Square, where the people have gathered. We see that from the balcony, different authorities are set to address the people. As we're trying to get the audio from the square, we recall that what we are looking at are live images from Bolivia, from the Murillo Square, just after a coup attempt has failed and the democratic order has been restored. Let's listen.
Long live our democracy. Brothers, we would like to salute the courage of the people of Bolivia, the brothers that have gathered once more in this square.
Estábamos escuchando también al vicepresidente de Bolivia, David Choquehuanca.
We've been listening to David Choquehuanca, Vice President of Bolivia. He is one of the Bolivian authorities that are addressing the nation, because of course they are before the Murillo Square, but this is being followed live across the nation and also across the region. As he was saying, long live Bolivia, claiming and cheering the reestablishment of the democratic order after the failed coup attempt that clearly tried to destabilize the democratic mandate of Luis Arce, who has now reclaimed the position. He has reclaimed total control of the military commands. And what we're looking at is the official address. The official address before the Murillo Square. Let's continue listening.
The Bolivian people will not permit anymore an attempt, a coup. And I would like to praise the courage of our president. When there was an armored vehicle in front of a palace, the president came out. Thanks to the people of Bolivia. Thank all the organizations.
We were listening to Vice President of Bolivia addressing the people at the Murillo Square. They're speaking before the people, before the social organizations, the civilian organizations who have gathered just hours after the first denouncement made by the President of Bolivia, Luis Arce, that there were irregular mobilizations from military units. They then came to call this a coup d'etat, an attempt coup d'etat that has luckily failed, and the democratic order is now restored, as we see that the political authorities of Bolivia are in the balcony addressing the nation, talking to the people. As we were saying before, the General Central Workers' Union in Bolivia also called to mobilize in defense of democracy. Let's listen to President Luis Arce. Of course, in such a high demand image, there's some audio difficulties from the square, but what we are seeing is the image of President Luis Arce, who is addressing the nation. We see the political authorities cheering and waving to the people who are in front of the government house. It's important to recall the clear difference of this image if we contrasted it to what was happening just hours ago when military units were surrounding the government house, where we even saw authorities trying to forcefully enter. And luckily, that is not the situation any longer. New authorities, new military authorities have been named, and also the democratic order has been restored after the military units have been ordered to retreat from the Murillo Square. Let's listen to the president addressing the nation.
We also would like to salute the police of the Bolivian state that went to respect and to defend the constitution of the government of the country, and to defend the government elected democratically by the people. Because we're sure that the only people that can take us out of the government are you, the people of Bolivia.
We are looking at images from the Murillo Square. The President Arce is now addressing the nation. Let's continue listening. We have some audio difficulties from the Murillo Square.
We have friendly government that has also made statements in favor of the Bolivian government and in rejection to the coup attempt. Nobody can take us the democracy that we have won in the polls and that the Bolivian people have won in the polls. We would like to thank. We're sure, even more with your presence here in the square, that we're going to continue, and we're going to continue working for the people's mandate for the democracy of Bolivia. We are always grateful for the Bolivian people. Thank you very much. Long live the people of Bolivia. Thank you, brothers.
These were the words of the Bolivian President Luis Arce from the Murillo Square as he was addressing, as he is in this moment addressing the nation, the population who has gathered in front of the government house just after the government has been able to overcome a coup attempt that has failed to get the government out of their position. Of course, Luis Arce has thanked the people for their support. He has thanked all the Bolivians who have mobilized and have made themselves present in the government house, even when the situation was unclear and military units tried to control the area. Of course, as they retreated, we've seen that the square has quickly filled with people that, of course, were in the surroundings, responding to the call of their government. The president of Bolivia also thanked the support of friendly governments and really governments of all governments of the region that showed their support to the government of Bolivia in the face of the coup that was underway and that has likely failed. We were going over minutes ago the different reactions and messages of support that Luis Arce had received from Brazilian President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva, from Colombian President Gustavo Petro, from Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, from Mexican elected President Claudia Sheinbaum, all very significant political leaders who were very quick to react. Also, Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, the President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, all came to the call of the democratic order in Bolivia that was on the fence by military units that refused for a moment to respond to the presidential mandate. Luckily, that is no longer the situation. As we can see, the Murillo Square in Bolivia is filled with people who have been following the events and are happy and celebrating the reestablishment of democracy in the country. What we're looking at are live images. From just minutes ago, we were looking at the Murillo Square in Bolivia as the President Luis Arce has just addressed the nation once again. We were listening before we were listening to Luis Arce as he addressed the nation in a very important statement in which he first announced new military authorities, and then the military authorities ordered the retreat of the military units that were in Murillo Square. That is what gave way to the situation as we are seeing it right now, in which the civilian population took control of the square before the government house, and the President of Bolivia, also accompanied by his vice president and ministers and different political authorities, were able to address the nation, thanked the people, thanked the governments that issued their support in these hard times, and also state one of the most significant statements from the Bolivian president in the statement that we were just listening to was that he said no one can make them leave the government office other than the Bolivian people themselves through their vote, as the democratic order mandates. So this is a very significant, very important image that we're looking at from just minutes ago in Bolivia after a failed coup attempt that is of course very significant, in particular to Bolivian history. Let's recall that Bolivia has faced a coup d'etat that was carried out in the year 2019, And in this case, luckily, we are talking about a failed coup attempt, as has also happened in other neighboring countries. This is why it's so important. That is why it's so important to recall that the coup attempt has failed in Bolivia, because, of course, every menace done on democracy in the region is a menace to democracy overall. This is why, and that is why we see that regional leaders have been so quick from a whole variety in the political spectrum of the current Latin American and Caribbean governments. They were all very quick to position themselves against any sort of military intervention to put an end to a democratically elected government, as is the one of Luis Arce Catacora in Bolivia.
Que cegó la vida de más de 85 personas en las masacres tanto de Sencata como de Sacaba, circunstancias que además formaron parte de esa historia nefasta en pleno orden constitucional del país cuando se le daba el golpe al entonces presidente Evo Morales. Hoy quiso
Let's go over some of the reactions, the international reactions that came just minutes ago. Let's recall that this has been happening in the last hours, and in this case we see a social network post from Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez just hours ago, who had said, "We categorically condemn any fascist and anti-democratic act that seeks to disturb the peace and alter the order of the Bolivian people." To the President, Luis Arce, its government and people, we send all our support and solidarity. That was the statement of Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez just hours ago, when the situation was still tense and unclear. Let's listen to correspondent Freddy Morales.
The mining sector are going to demand the respect of the Constitution, the respect of the democracy, the respect of the sovereign vote of the people of Bolivia. That's why we have already put all the mining sector on alert, and we have declared ourselves in emergency state. Obviously, we have summoned all the federations in the departments and regional areas. They will surely be also joining us in this support. Let's talk about the people that have come to this area to express their support to democracy, to the government of President Luis Arce. The President and Vice President have been in this meeting, in this parade, in this rally that have been going on in this Murillo Square. My name is Hidro Choque, and we are from Taipi. A coup attempt has been going on here. Yeah, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the armored vehicles came into the square. It's very unfortunate. I would like to address and tell the people of Bolivian people in general to be on alert during this time to defend our president. And I saw those armed vehicles and the military people hitting people. We were here also. Has been a very difficult time. Thank you very much. Let's continue talking with people that have gathered in this square to support President, to support the democracy in Bolivia. We're here to support our president. We are willing to all. Democracy is the most important thing, and that's why we have to fight for. And we have to fight against people that don't have any scruple to take the power, as in this case, the former commander Zuñiga. Of course, we have military who are loyal, who have supported this process, and there are also the politicians that have also supported the Constitution. And also the people have been gathering here to support and their free right to defend democracy. And we all here and will continue to support our government. Lucio Arce deserves all our support, and because he's doing the best for our economy. We have problems, but we are advancing, and we're going to achieve it. We're going to support our brother Arce. Thank you very much. Thousands of people, I should say, are gathered here to support our president spontaneously to reject the coup attempt that was carried out today in Morilla Square in front of the government palace, where some armored vehicles came to demand for the destitution of the cabinet. First of all, I would like to thank all the people that are here in the first place, and also to tell Lucho that he's not alone. We're going to be here. The Agrarian Central will be here to reject and support. We have seen military abusing people. This cannot happen anymore. We have the right and we have the duty to respect and to support our government. This is the atmosphere that we're living through here. Hundreds of people, thousands of people have gathered. As soon as we inform the groups have been gathering here, the people have come here to support the government and to express the democracy, to defend the democracy, and they will say that they will not allow an attempt of coup anymore. At the end of the afternoon, once the President Arce positioned and appointed new military command in the army, and about 12 armored vehicles that have taken this place disbanded rapidly. The military were actually had to resort to shoot gas because people were gathering here in hundreds. And there were some kind of feigned exchanges between the military and the people. So all the military, all the soldiers left the square running after the new commander-in-chief said to abandon the square and go back to their places of origin. Thousands of people are still here. Luis Arce has come to the balcony to address the people and to thank all the loyal military, and above all the people of Bolivia, who once again have rejected and have supported the constitution of the country. There's police officers also here surrounding the area to keep the order of the civilians and to protect the civilians here. The Vice Minister of the Interior has said that some people have been detained during the repression that the military were carrying on around the square.
We were looking at images from Bolivia, live images, and also images from just minutes ago. Also, we were listening to our correspondent, Freddy Morales, who has been reporting for us since the very beginning of this tense situation in Bolivia that has had a democratic and a happy resolution. As we were listening to his report, people are out in the streets, they are celebrating, they are calling in favor of the democracy that has been threatened but has not budged, and that is the ruling system and the ruling government of Luis Arce, who has reclaimed his power before his people at the Murillo Square just after the military units left the square that surrounded the government house. Let's recall that hours ago, military units were threatening the government house, and actually military authorities led by former Commander Zuñiga, who had been denounced to be leading a coup d'etat, forced their entry into the government house with an armored vehicle. Let's listen.
We are addressing the Latin America, the future, comrades. At this time, I have seen the images through TeleSUR, live and direct. The people of Bolivia is on the streets, and they have defeated the fascist attempt of coup. Long live the Bolivian people. Long live Lucho. Long live Evo.
We were listening to the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, who also took a stand to defend Luis Arce after the events that took place in Bolivia. We were talking about how the international support, especially the one that came from the closest regional allies to Bolivia, was very important and very significant to quickly alert the international community of what was happening in Bolivia. We had mentioned the importance of statements that came from Venezuela, from Brazil, from Cuba, from Mexico, and what we were listening now was the Venezuelan president, Nicolás Maduro, cheering for Luis Arce in Bolivia and celebrating, of course, the re-establishment and the triumph of democratic order in the South American country. Also in this topic, Luis Arce, the president himself, when he addressed the nation before the Murillo Square, he also thanked not only the Bolivian people, first the Bolivian people, and then the international community and all the governments that had issued messages of support. Let's listen to further statements.
The prosecutor's office has already said that the investigation start against former General Zuñiga, and we also order the deployment of all the research to gather all the details and also to issue summons and resolutions duty founded in order to clarify the actions that happened today and to demand the responsibility of the people that led this attempt. This is a statement that we also share with you, and also to let you know that the prosecutor's office demand has been issued so that it is to alert a migratory alert against Zuñiga. It's all that we would like to share from the prosecutor's office of the state.
We were listening to the spokesman for the Bolivian prosecutor's office also address the situation in a national statement that again claimed and praised the democratic order that was confirmed. In Bolivia, we are looking at how different Bolivian authorities and also regional leaders are coming to the stage to issue their statements of support, their statements of condemnation of what is now a failed coup d'etat attempt against the presidency of Luis Arce. We are now seeing also live images from the Murillo Square. Let's listen to our correspondent on site.
The immigration authorities have already taken the measures to avoid against the former General Zuñiga. According to information that we have, about 6 people were wounded as a result of the aggression of the military against the people who were demonstrating in the square. One of the doors of the government palace is virtually destroyed because of the impact that one of the armored vehicles tried to push the door in to allow people to come in. Former General Zuñiga was trying to order President Arce and other institutions in the country. He also said that he was trying to recover democracy of the country. We also have to say that former General Zuñiga, left the armored vehicles as soon as possible when he heard about the decision of the new armed forces to leave the square. The rest of the armored vehicles, about 12, joined the armored vehicles that former General Zuñiga was in and left the square. About 1,000 soldiers that were actually doing their military service also disbanded the square. The rest of the military staff were actually uncovered, and the people were insulting the military that were trying to support the coup. So the people actually got into the square once the military left, and there were some confrontations between the military that were left, and the people. Also, people have been gathering afterwards to support and to celebrate the defeat of the coup attempt. The Central Workers' Union had summoned also their membership to the square.
Por parte del principal cabecilla de esta intentona golpista que prácticamente salió huyendo en una.
So actually the first one to leave the square was the head of the coup attempt, former General
precisamente para evitar que las personas, que en ese momento no eran muchas, eran unos centenares apenas, pudieran agredirles.
So the police had to take over to avoid any possible consequences of the clash between the military that were left and the police and the people.
A los lugares donde están prestando el servicio respectivo. El
President Luis Arce, in front of a crowd in this square who gathered here in hundreds and thousands in minutes, he went to the balcony to salute and thank the people of Bolivia for the support of democracy. And he said that no military could take the government out of the palace, but only the people. And he also thanks the social sector and the people that immediately came to this square to express their support to democracy, their joy for democracy, and their joy because the coup was defeated. Just 4 years after the previous coup attempt, the coup took place in Bolivia in 2019. According to authorities of the Ministry of Government, what is left is to investigate all the participants, all the friends of the pushist general that supported this coup attempt, to bring them to justice. One of the instructions that the former general gave was to put to liberate the prisoner, including Janine, former President Janine, who took power in 2019. The former general also said that he will put in liberty Camacho, former Mayor Camacho, who is in prison 40 kilometers from the square in a high security prison, who together with Janine and all the ministers were accused of trying to break democracy, constitutional democracy in 2019. President Arce addressed the people in the balcony and said that democracy has been restored and the institutionality of the country has been restored, and the pushists have failed in this attempt that they try to carry out during 5 hours in this square with armed vehicles and very high-armed military personnel, even shooting gas to the people that were here to demonstrating the support for the constitution of the government of the country. And also it's very noted to notice that the military that were trying to carry out the attempt were the first one that left rapidly at the end. People are here demonstrating the democracy of the country and rejecting of any coup attempt and any return of the dictatorship, of military dictatorship. Normality is actually coming back to the state of Bolivia, and we hope in the next hours the new instructions of the Central Workers Union, who have instructed a general strike. Also, in the few hours, they will have to be determined the role of the other commanders and military officers, what happened to the armed forces of Bolivia, of the air forces of Bolivia. According to the ministers of Luis Arce's version, he only observed in this area that there was only one officer from the air forces, Bolivian air forces, here in the square, but there were many people with their faces covered. So the democracy has returned to Bolivia, which will have a period of clarifying what happened and what have been the results and the sources of this 5 hours of tension in which a group of military with dozens of armored vehicles charged, loaded with machine guns, installed themselves in the square to support Zuñiga, to put conditions to the president of the country, and also with the intention, according to his own words, to retrieve from the government civilians, authorities in the government, from the Plaza Murillo.
We were listening to Freddy Morales, TeleSUR correspondent, who is live at the Murillo Square, and he is giving the latest reports on what is happening and what has happened in Bolivia. That is the images that we have right now. And he was, of course, giving a detailed description of the latest events in Bolivia. He said that according to reports, 6 people were injured as they were trying to get across the square before the situation was resolved and the military units left the square. He also pointed out to a very significant detail that will definitely go into the books of the Bolivian history. That is, one of the doors of the government house was left destroyed by the attempt of the armored vehicle that we saw live in TeleSUR English just hours ago as it was trying to get inside the government house. That vehicle was led by former commander of the army, Zuñiga, who has been pointed out to be one of the leaders of the failed coup d'etat. And of course, Commander Zuñiga is now a former commander, has no longer his position before the army, and actually the tense situation that was lived outside the government house changed drastically after Bolivian President Luis Arce named new military authorities. These new military authorities ordered the military units to retreat from the square, to go back to their units, and that is when the situation, what appeared to be a coup d'etat that was underway, became a failed coup d'etat, and the government reclaimed its complete mandate over all forces, all state forces. We heard just minutes ago from the Bolivian prosecutor's office, who mentioned that a criminal investigation has been opened and is now currently underway to investigate all military leaders involved in the failed coup d'etat that threatened democracy in the South American country. We also listened from Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, also just minutes ago, and we continue to look at regional statements. This was a post in social network X from Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel, when at that moment he said the outrage against democracy and the Bolivian people shown in the images from international media this afternoon in Bolivia is outrageous. We repudiate the attempted coup d'etat underway and extend all the solidarity of the Cuban government and people to brother Luis Arce. Of course, again, these posts on social network were issued hours ago. This was when the situation of the coup d'etat was underway. It was being denounced by international local media. It was first denounced, or it was first transcendent when the President Luis Arce called out the coup attempt that was being carried out in Bolivia. The situation now is completely different, and part of the way the events developed, part of the reasons why we are talking now of a failed coup d'etat, have to do with the quick international support that the government of Bolivia received. We were looking at the social network post from Cuban President Díaz-Canel. We were listening from Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro. But also, this attempt of military intervention on a democratic state was rejected. At this point, has been rejected not only by Bolivia's closest allies, but also by governments that are ideologically very far from the government of Luis Arce. Foreign Minister Mondino of Argentina herself also issued her own rejection of the attempted coup d'etat. We saw President of Uruguay, Luis Lacalle Pou, who also rejected the coup d'etat in Bolivia. On screen, we're looking at the reaction of Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel. And all these different reactions that came from all around the world. We also saw reactions, quick reactions from Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez. All of these statements quickly gave the alert of the serious situation that was underway in Bolivia, called the attention of all the international community, and this is why, or at least this is one of the reasons, one of the factors that contributed to the defeat of the attempt on democracy.
La Fiscalía General de Bolivia, a través de su comunicado FGE número 004, dice que ante los últimos acontecimientos suscitados en la ciudad de La Paz, sede del gobierno, y que son de conocimiento.
We were following live the latest in Bolivia after hours ago President Luis Arce denounced irregular mobilizations from part of the National Army. Luckily, the democratic order has been restored after hours of tension that included the presence of military units at the Murillo Square and even authorities led by Commander Zuñiga, former Commander Zuñiga, who tried to enter the government house. However, the attempt has failed as President Arce addressed the nation, named new military authorities who ordered all mobilized units to retreat from the square that was then filled with people cheering for the re-establishment of democracy in the country. Continue following the latest in Bolivia and the region in upcoming emissions from TeleSUR English. Stay with us.
La Fiscalía General del Estado en Bolivia está reafirmando su compromiso de defensa de la legalidad y los intereses generales de la sociedad en el marco de la preservación de nuestra democracia. Fechado Sucre, 26 de junio del 2014, del 2024 quiero decir, con propiedad, que esto marca además la instructiva para ya alertar a migración y evitar que el entonces general de las Fuerzas Armadas en Bolivia, el general Juan José Zúñiga, pueda abandonar territorio nacional. Estamos haciendo seguimiento a las reacciones, a los últimos pronunciamientos que hacen tras haberse desarticulado este intento de golpe de Estado en Bolivia.